When we were kids growing up, my mom used to make a pineapple upside down cake, and we all just loved it. Today I'm going to make a version of that. It's just as good if you use a pineapple cake mix, I've found out. But today, since I do not have a cake mix, we're going to make the regular old cake. We're going to start out with 1/2 cup of butter, and I've put it into a cast iron skillet here. And I'm just going to set that into the oven and let it begin to melt while I put my cake together. I have divided 3 eggs. I've put the yolk in a little bowl, and then into my mixer I have put the 3 egg whites, which are at room temperature, and I'm going to beat them until they're fluffy. Okay, it looks like they are about done. You want those egg whites to where that they are fluffy and will hold their shape, but yet you do not want to beat them until they are dry. And when they get dry, they become, they have a glossy look, and you don't want that. Yeah. Okay, into this bowl we are going to put 1 cup of sifted cake flour. 1 tablespoonful of baking powder. 1/8 teaspoon of salt. That was 1/4 of a measuring spoon, so I only used half of that. Kind of mix that together. Then we're going to take our whisk and we're going to whisk those little egg yellows. And you want them to become a light, creamy lemon color. The more air that you beat into them, the lighter colored they become. And they become really smooth, and that's what you want. Okay, then we're going to add 1 cup of white sugar. And to that we're going to add 5 tablespoonfuls of our pineapple juice right out of the can. Stir that in a little bit. And then we're going to pour that into our flour mixture. We're now going to take the egg whites and mix them in with our batter. This is one of the things that helps to make them a lighter cake. You don't want to stir or whip this real hard. We're wanting those egg whites to retain their fluff, and that helps to keep your cake fluffy too. Now the egg is the only thing that has any fat that is in this cake part right here. And as you can see, we've got that mixed up and it looks fairly fluffy and light. I'm going to check on my butter and it has melted. Thing about a cast iron skillet, they are really heavy, and as you can see, that coats your skillet very well. Okay, our butter has melted and we've got 1 cup of firmly packed brown sugar, and we're just going to evenly coat that, sprinkle it in on that butter. This is where the bottom of the cake ends up making the top of the cake when you're finished with it. So we want it all nice and even. And it looks like a lot, but that helps it to come out of the pan also. And to that then we're going to add our pineapple slices. Place them around as evenly as you can. And in the center of each of these, I'm going to place a maraschino cherry. Now, if you don't have the little maraschino cherries, you can crumble up any kind of a nut, like a almond is good, or any of those. And you can just kind of put those in however you want. Okay. Then we're going to carefully pour our batter over the top. Now we don't want it to have to be spread out too much because we don't want to rearrange our pineapple in the bottom. Now remember, this pan is hot, and that makes a difference with your cake and the way that it's going to bake. Just kind of lightly spread that in there. Don't move it around too much, or you kind of make it messy underneath. All right. And it is ready to go into the oven, and we're going to take a look at it after 35 minutes. The oven is set at 375. It has been 35 minutes, and I'm going to take my cake out. I'm going to test it to see if it's done. It needs to come out with no cake particles on there. It looks like it did pretty good. Now I'm going to let this sit here for 5 minutes before I turn it out onto my cake plate, because we want it to begin to pull away a little bit from the sides, but we don't want it to stick to the bottom. Okay, we're going to take a look at this. What you might want to do is just run a knife around the edge and kind of see how well it's pulled away. It looks like that's done pretty good. There may be places that you kind of need to lift that away a little bit. After all, we have to turn this out onto a plate. And that is where that it really tests how brave you are, because these iron skillets are super heavy. My plate that I'm going to be putting it on, it's super heavy. And I'm just going to set that over there, bring that up onto it, and I'm holding the top of my plate and I might need help doing this. I don't know, we'll see. Oh, no, I got it. Oh, and 1,000 pounds later, there's our cake.